this is all about where the rubber meets the road. So your daily life when you're not actually sitting on your meditation cushion, and how to bring this practice into the rest of your life. Because I think, as I was saying at the beginning of the day, if you were to do an hour of practice, meditation practice a day, you've got 23 hours left every day that you're not sitting on your cushion. And what do you do during that time? Because it's good to think about this, because it's quite easy to fall into this thing where, and it happened for me too, where I'd have my time meditating on my cushion would be quite separate from the rest of my life, and I became really attached to that kind of, quiet retreating from life, and had this sort of special time, and then the rest of the day was something else, and yeah, so we're aiming to spread this out into every area of our lives, really. And there are some people that go on retreats and then they do nothing in between. They're kind of that, a bit like like an alcoholic or something. That's like, who's seen Ex Machina, the film? Yeah.
It's not a robot, is it?
Yeah, well, there's this character. People haven't seen it, so there's a character in there. And he's just really extreme. Like 1 minute he's sort of drinking loads of green tea and smoothies and doing all this exercise stuff, and then the next minute he's just like on a bender drinking for 3 days. And we're aiming. That's not what we're aiming for with this practice. We're aiming for a kind of something that's really sustainable and integrated. That's it. Because as soon as you get, it's really the more you practice this, it gets really easy to go into these states on your meditation cushion when you're on your own. It's all quiet. My favourite time to meditate is I'm quite an early riser, and quite often I'll wake up at 5:30, which under normal circumstances is really annoying. But I get up and I meditate, and then so by the time the rest of my family have woken up, I've been up and I've meditated, and it's all quiet. No one's awake. It's the lights just coming up. There's not even any bird song, in winter, and I love it. But those are the kind of like optimum circumstances for cultivating that way of being. But as soon as you get up off your cushion, then you've got to make your kids breakfast, and you're running out of time, and you haven't brushed their teeth, and all that stuff. And how are you going to be in that moment? So what good is it developing the ability to relax and concentrate when you can only do it when you're sitting on your own in a room with your eyes closed? So I've got some techniques we'll do, but is there anything anyone wants to say about it before we get going? Any questions about it, or anything they just wanted to share about their own experience of practicing meditation and then getting up off the cushion and doing daily life?
When we did the breathing meditation, you did say it was somewhat like doing mantra meditation, which is what I do. And my job drives me bananas. I got so stressed out in my job. But what I have found is that through doing the focused meditation, the concentrated meditation, I can talk myself down as it happens rather than just go into complete meltdown. I can actually talk myself out of it. As a result of doing that focus, I can hang back now.
When you say talk yourself out of it, do you start using your mantra? Is
No,
that
I don't
what you're saying?
start using my mantra. I'll start with breathing. Because, you know, if you've got to think your thoughts, you've got to think your thoughts. You can't stop and think mantra.
Right.
But you start with your breathing and go more and more into your breathing, into the thought. Forget the emotion, you don't need that right now. Think the thought you need to think. Breathe, breathe, breathe. And I can get myself out of it in that way because I can focus, which I didn't used to be able to do. And that I have found extremely useful. So do it.
Yeah. Well, life is stressful. You know, it is. And but that's also one of the great things about life. You know, I mean, so some kinds of stress are fun. You know, and so yeah, this is really important. It's not, so going back to Stephen Fry and the cows, you know, being more mindful and present in your life is not about smoothing out all the wrinkles. Sometimes you want to smooth the wrinkles out in the way you were saying, when it's overwhelming and you actually need to, but you don't want to just bulldoze your whole life, you know, make everything in your life like this. But the way to get out of this thing, that's a misunderstanding of the application of meditation in real life, and it's something that lots of people do when they start, and I certainly did when I started, was I wanted to just bulldoze I found life traumatic and painful. So a lot of the reasons why people get into this kind of stuff is they're like, crikey, you know, it's got to be a way of living without going totally insane. And so I kind of was like hoping to be able to cultivate a state of mind and presence that I could just bulldoze everything into this nice flat playing pitch, you know. Like, well, yeah, you can try doing it, but you know, you versus nature is much more powerful. So that's where this realization comes in. So, as formless consciousness, the part of you that is just simply awake and aware and is formless, transparent, that part of you is always silent, always calm, always open, uncontracted. There's a Rumi poem about accepting all these people into the house, all these different people come knocking on the door. I can't remember the exact thing. Yeah, and it's just like, you know, you've got yeah, you know, the crazy lady comes in and there's, you know, some pompous aristocrat and, you know, some really smelly bloke, and I mean, you know, they're just welcoming all of the people into this guest house, and this is the guest house that's always open and won't turn anyone away. So this brings me on to a practice, which is in any moment you remember, is to notice that there is a part of you which I've been calling your personality, which is trying to push away unpleasant things and move towards pleasant things. Yeah? So, to make it less abstract, say I might be having an argument with my wife, and it's part of me is, we don't have a lot of arguments, you know, so just using that as an example. We, you know, like everyone else, have arguments every now and again. So I can feel, in that moment, I can feel my personality, my personal self, my ego, whatever we're going to call it, is wanting to push away the discomfort of that interaction. It literally feels like it's trying to push it away. And then there's, on the other side, there's the reconciliation that, you know, after you've had the argument, the kissing and making up and cuddling and reconnecting, you know, I can feel the other part was wanting that really strongly. So there's this pushing and pulling, but then you can also notice that you're, as awareness, you're not doing either of those things. You're just literally simply present with this moment as it is, with no desire to change it or manipulate it at all. And it's a massive release when you can hold those two together. So I'm not saying you are trying to stop your personality is going to do what it's going to do. You know, we're all these small fairy mammals inside, you know, that want safety and comfort and don't like discomfort. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's entirely appropriate to be that way on the level of the personality. But what we've been trying to do today is expand ourselves so we've got both. We've got the personal self and then what's you might call the transpersonal self, which is, in Hinduism they call it the self with a capital S. It's the one that is this one. And if you can feel them both in the same moment, then you've got this deep keel, like a keel on a boat is the thing that holds it steady in the water. You've got this deep keel of awareness and presence that is holding all of this inside yourself. You're holding all of this moment inside yourself in this completely silent, completely calm, completely open and transparent and unprotected presence, whilst all of that is happening at the same time. So this is not smoothing out life like that. It's letting it more like the colour of this cloth. You put this transparent orb on there, it takes on the contours and bright colours and shapes of this cloth, but the actual orb itself is unchanged, because if I take it off, that's all gone and it's on to the next thing. So it's a bit like life, except you don't, as awareness, you don't move, you're always here. It's always here and now. I've just gone off on one a little bit there. So does that make sense? So is there anything you want me to clarify about that?
You haven't really sort of given it a name yet. This transparent, naked.
Well, that's
awareness.
Now that is the point. So Ramana Maharshi, who's a really famous Indian spiritual teacher from about 100 years ago, his whole thing was to ask the question, who am I? And it's called self-inquiry is the process. And so it's a bit like meditation. You're asking, who am I? Who am I? You know, am I this finger? If I cut this finger off, would I still be me? You know, and this is not what he was saying, but it's something I was thinking the other day. If I cut my arm off, am I still me? You know, like, what can I remove and still be me? And then, but then if you've taken away, like we did this morning, sensations, feelings, thoughts, then if you're none of those things, I'm not saying you're not any of those things, you're not exclusively identified with any of those things, because you can remove any. I could anaesthetise you and remove all physical sensation from your body, but you'd still be there, present. Yeah, I mean, I could say, oh, hi, Sonia, you still there? And you'd be like, yeah, I'm still there, I can't feel my body though. Yeah? So, but his whole thing was, you don't answer that question, who am I? You just keep asking the question, so you're going deeper and deeper and deeper. Because as soon as you think, all right, I've landed there, I've found myself, then, you know, what are you going to call? What is it? What are you going to call it? Because it's not a it's beyond language.
Yeah.
That language happens inside.
Yeah.
Language is something which happens inside here.
Yeah.
So you can't get outside of awareness
Yeah.
to see it, to call it anything.
Yeah.
So that's why I've just been using different terms, because
Yeah.
nobody's come up with a word for it.
Yeah.
Maybe they will one
Yeah.
day come up with a good one in English. There's lots of ones in Indian languages and
Yeah.
Tibetan languages,
Yeah.
but they're all
Yeah.
they've all got
Unsatisfactory.
they've all got something that's not entirely true about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so in Zen, they say, so in Taoism, which Zen is a sort of Buddhist version of Taoism. Taoism is an older thing, and they say the Tao that can be spoken is not the Tao, or the way that can be spoken is not the way, which is another way of saying the truth that can be spoken is not the truth. But Zen masters and Taoist practitioners talk about this stuff all the time. You know, so you can't talk about it, but you can.
It's like that one, discerning the truth as well, isn't it? Because the truth can change in the moment. Like discernment of truth. Do you know what I mean?
Say a bit more.
It's like discerning what is true in that moment can change.
Well, it will always change. That's the only
Do you know what I mean? But then it's like, and through having an awareness, like saying if you're in an argument or something like that, you then gauge what's right to say rather than coming from a aggression place or something that's going to harm someone. Like you're talking about the transparency of both.
Yeah.
How do you hold it? Because there's no, I suppose, there's no release in that, is there?
Well, did you hear that? Did you hear that clap?
Yeah.
Yeah, it effortlessly arose inside yourself as awareness. So you're aware and present right now. Yeah. That's it. I mean, I could just. That's it. I mean, I could just say that.
I was working in Guernsey for. I've been a painting decorator all my life, and I've just literally been given the opportunity to have some rest because 40 hours a week has just been driving me mad in a mundane job with no sort of direction. I was working around a really abusive alcoholic man, and I literally had to hold my ground around his abusive behaviour towards me, but like, because I can't, one minute I'm seeing him, I'm getting really angry towards him, but I'm not expressing it because I lose my job and he sell all my tools because they're in his van. But then I flip to love and compassion and kindness and try and send him love and compassion and kindness because I see the wounded 63-year-old boy that he is, and he even walks like a 15-year-old wounded man, but then you feel the sadness of that. But you're trying not to attach, I suppose.
Yeah, well, in a way, that's less of a meditation exercise as a perspective-taking practice where you see the world from that person's perspective. So, say if you meet someone, you think they're a complete whatever, and then you say, okay, well, I'm going to try and get into their perspective and see the world as they see it. And then all of a sudden you think, crikey, there's reasons why this person's this way, and then you suddenly feel a connection with them. I mean, I'd say that's more of a different type of practice, a good one to do, and something that I spend a lot of time doing, but not specifically related to.
It's the inevitability you're going to come into conflict in your life, isn't you? It's just trying to deal with it from a place of maturity.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to make a distinction here. So, using meditation as a way to deal with conflict in your life. So, developing these states of consciousness we've just done. Can help in a situation where there's conflict happening, in the sense that you've got the spaciousness to let the feelings come up inside you, but not get totally identified with them and then just fall asleep, go blank, just in a dream, say, you get something comes up and you just get carried away with it, and before you know, you've been, fighting against the Nazis and, whatever. And if you have a lucid dream, you can wake up from that and go, whoa, I'm dreaming. What was I just doing? And this is like that so you're aware that inside yourself, you've got all of this conflicts coming up, and inside the other person, and there's a part of you that's not scared of that, because it's just got infinite capacity to let these things come up inside. And because you're not avoiding it, then you can actually do something about it. But meditation won't tell you what to do specifically in that situation, and that's why I would recommend psychotherapy in conjunction with meditation. So meditation gives you the space to not run away from conflict, and to run away from the pain and the discomfort of it, and to be present with it, and to hold it. And then sometimes, as Manu was saying, sometimes you can use a breathing type meditation or a concentration meditation to actually, to kind of numb a little bit of the distress. But in terms of actually understanding the patterns that drive your life, that make conflict happen, that make other people, how to work with other people, that's much more to do with psychology and psychotherapy. So in my life, in the situations that involve conflict, the psychotherapy is as useful for me as meditation, and they're both happening at the same time.
I follow this, she's a Buddhist teacher called Joan Halifax, and she works with the dying, and she uses compassionate a model of compassionate practice. But what she says is that sort of compassionate practice and meditation helps us ride the waves, that we'll never have a calm sea in life.
Yeah.
But these practices help us just ride the waves and stop us.
Makes you a surfer.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I just thought that was.
Or you're the actual whole ocean within which the waves are going, rather than a little person bobbing around on top of it. You're that, but you're also the depth within which it's all happening. Okay, we're going to do a little practice. So this is a fun game. It's called the Big Mind Process, developed by a guy called Genpo Roshi, an American Zen guy. I just want to pay credit to this first person, second person, third person perspective stuff I picked up from a guy called Ken Wilber, who's an American guy. And I found it very useful, and it came from him. But it dates back to Plato and before that. But the actual way I've been talking about it, I borrowed it from his work. Okay, so Big Mind Process. We'll do, we'll see how we'll do this. What we're going to do is we're going to talk from different perspectives in the first person. So we're going to talk as don't know mind. So don't know mind is another Zen word for the thing we can't name. Yeah, but one of all of these different names or terms to them have some different characteristic that they're emphasising. So this open, transparent awakeness inside you is we call that in Zen don't know mind, because from that perspective you don't know anything. There's no desire to know what is this You know, what is this? What's it made of? All that kind of knowing. You're just very comfortable with just being awake and present, and you're aware and awake. It's not like you're just dull, a dull unknowing. It's a bright, vivid awakeness that has no impulse to know the intricate workings of anything. And the reason why that's a great thing in life is it's such a burden to always want to know what everything is, and to just be able to say that there's a great guided meditation that was doing the rounds a while ago, and it was called Fuck It, I think, and it was like, you know, talking about different parts of your life. You go, yeah, and you just, yeah, fuck it. And you just fuck it. Just let it all, go. I'd recommend looking it up. It's quite a good guided meditation. And it's just, don't need to know. Don't need to know anything. Where did I come from? Don't know. I'm okay with that. Where did all this come from? Don't know. And it's a massive release, of the existential burden, of you just let that go. It doesn't mean you're just fading off into oblivion. You're very present and aware, but you're not in the business of knowing. Okay, so that's don't know mind on one side, and then we'll talk as the mind that knows, the knowing mind. Okay, and then we're going to build a triangle. We're going to go up to the top. The apex of the triangle is neither, and this is where we are. This is us at the apex of the triangle. We're neither solely don't know mind or the knowing mind. We're both in every moment. So I'm just describing the journey that we're going to go on. This is one, this is the other, this is non-dual. Okay? They say with non-duality means not one and not two. So it doesn't mean non-duality is not squishing everything into one, kind of greyness. It's not one, but it's not two either. It's sort of, you can't wrap your mind around it. But you can be it because we're it right now. Yeah? Okay? So we're going to do this little thing. So it's kind of like a game. And I'm going to ask to speak to these three different perspectives. And so when you speak, you speak in the first person. So if I'm talking to, we'll start with knowing mind, okay? And if I'm talking to the knowing mind and I say, right, so tell me about you, you'll say things like, I want to know everything. What kind of things do you want to know? I want to know the future. I want to know, am I going to wake up tomorrow? I do, okay, we're going to find out, all right? So you don't, the self in this is your personality. So I would talk about Ralph in the third person here. So I'd say, I want to know. Oh, right, we'll just do it. Here we go. Hard to describe, easy to do, but just keep it simple. This is a simple thing. All right. So we're going to start with the knowing mind, the mind that knows. Okay. So, tell me about you as the mind that knows. So what kind of things do you want to know?
How am I going to die?
Yeah? That's a big one. But here's one. You'd like to know that, but would Jane like to know when she's going to die?
Not when, how?
Right, would she even want to know that?
I don't want to know when. But...
So the reason why this is interesting is, as a knowing mind, you want to know everything. In fact, you'll want to know things that the self, there's not the self with a capital S, little self, so the ego, the personality. The knowing mind, you will want to know everything. Whether Ralph or Jane wants to actually know that. Okay, this is important for meditation, because once you know the mind that wants to know, you just let it. It's going to go where it wants to go, even if the self doesn't want to know that. Yeah. So if you're sometimes sitting in meditation, you might have that thought. Oh, I wonder when I'm going to die. Or,
Not
yeah?
when, how.
Or I wonder how I'm going to die. What's it going to be? Is it going to be a paperclip, a bee, an asteroid? And then it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, I don't want to know that stuff. But then you can let the mind that knows, that wants to know, is just going to do that. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong. You're just doing your job, yeah? Okay? We're getting warmed up here.
Okay, am I going to be President of the United States?
Yeah, that's something to know. And it's interesting because I can feel that it seems like a ridiculous thing to want to know, but as the mind that wants to know, nothing ridiculous about that.
No.
In fact, children, they want to know all of these they come up with those sort of things, don't they? It's like, because they're not worried about having a mind that wants to know.
Mm.
Oh, no, I'm going to be the President of the United States. Yeah. I could just imagine one of my kids saying that. Yeah. So one of these perspectives, they all have a job that they do, yeah, and they're important jobs, and it's about up here at the apex. You're like the manager that is letting people do their jobs, and you're not giving them a hard time, okay? Which means in meditation, there's a part of your mind that's going to want to know everything. And it's just doing its job. Don't hate it for doing that. Just let it do its thing, and it will cause far less problem for you.
It's really nice to see it separated literally from that.
No, it can even be your actual posture. Your posture's a triangle
Yeah, the
when you're
triangles.
meditating.
Yeah.
You know, this is you. This is
So
who.
your head and your knees or something.
Have you ever read
We're still playing the game. I'll answer your question afterwards. But let's just do the big mind thing. So, as a mind that knows, try and say what you're about to say in the first person, as a mind that wants to know.
well, I guess why don't I kill this person right in front of me right now?
Yeah. Okay, so that's a perfectly legitimate thing for you to think about as a mind that wants to know, isn't it?
Mm.
But how do you think James, the self, feels about that kind of thought?
It's really interesting.
An interesting thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because my question was going to be, have you ever read Albert Camus' The Outsider?
No.
Is anyone? Alright, don't worry then.
Save it for afterwards. But
Well,
that
'cause
okay.
it questions your free will. That's why I find it so interesting, because these thoughts kind of pop up sometimes. And
Okay,
it's
all
like-
right. Okay, here we go. So, as the one that wants to know everything, do you have free will about wanting to know everything? Or is it just your nature to want to know everything? There's nothing you can do about it. You can't even control. You just want to know everything.
I think the free will comes in the apex of the triangle,
Okay, right. Yeah.
where I am.
Okay, we're not there yet. We're going to go there. So you said right now you're wondering what was it about killing someone?
Why don't I?
Why don't I kill that person? Yeah. Okay. As the mind that wants to know, it's a perfectly legitimate question. You're just wanting to know something, yeah? But as the self, when you bring up those kind of thoughts, normally, most people, well, there's an interest. They thought, oh, that's an interesting thought. And then also sometimes there might be a little bit of like, God, that's an awful thing to think about. But the mind that wants to know is just doing its job. Yeah, you're just doing your job. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Okay.
I'm not quite understanding. I guess this is what my mind wants to know.
Okay, so who's speaking?
My mind
The
wants
self
to know.
is speaking now.
No, my mind wants to know.
Or are you speaking as the mind, as
Yes.
the one that wants to know?
Yes.
So speaking the first. So I want to know.
I want to know, or my mind wants to know.
You're the one that wants to know. You are speaking as the one who wants to know everything.
I can see that my mind wants to know.
That's you. You want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The questions arising in my mind that of actually I'm not quite understanding. This is the questioning mind.
Mm.
This is the self, the large self.
Yeah.
Who's just totally okay and doesn't need to know anything. What is the position up here?
We're going to go there.
Oh,
we're
we're not
we're
there
just
yet.
going to do it. No, we're not
Okay,
there.
okay.
We're still down in the one who wants to know.
Oh, well then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We might call it
My
the.
mind wants to know what's the position.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You're just doing your job. This is it. You want to know. Okay. So you want to know what's this about? Where are we going?
Yeah.
You know, with this. Yeah. That's fine. That's good. Of course, you're just doing your job. You want to know.
The mind's trying to figure. I can see it's like.
And
what
I
does that mean?
and I've said, I've answered you wanted to know. You ask. I've given an answer. Yeah. We're going to go there. Okay. Well, we'll do one more from this perspective.
Can you ask something like, will I be a lottery winner? Something like that.
Will I be a lottery?
Yeah.
Will I be rich? Basically, that's what you're asking, isn't it? Will I be rich? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You might be. Who knows? Good. Okay. So, wanting to know everything. So, what we've established is that there's nothing wrong with wanting to know everything. Yeah. Even all the things that seem embarrassing, rude, dark, funny, all of those things. It's fine to think all of these things, and how this relates to meditation practice is if the mind that wants to know comes up, just say, okay, mind that wants to know is just doing their job. Yeah, that comes up inside of you. Don't worry about it. Just okay. So now we're going to go to the mind. We're going to go to don't know mind. Okay. So we're now talking as don't know mind. In the first person, so you're saying I, as don't know mind, I, whatever, ... Okay. So don't know minds. Tell me about yourself.
I don't
Yeah.
know what's going on.
Yeah. Okay. You don't know what's going on, but are you stupid?
No.
Hmm.
Don't know.
You don't know. Yeah.
No.
Do you care?
I don't know.
No. Yeah. Exactly. You don't know. Yeah. How do you think how do you think Alana would feel about you with what you just said?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Depends.
Right. Yeah. You're going right in there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it doesn't matter actually, does it? No matter what anyone says. Don't know. Okay. Where did you come from? Where did you come from?
The stars.
Doesn't sound. That sounds like the mind that wants to know.
It is. It depends again.
Where did you come from? As don't know mind.
We just are, aren't we?
Yeah.
Just,
Does that freak you out?
A little bit.
As a
Is
don't
that
know
the
mind?
mind that wants to know?
No, we're not there. We're talking as don't know mind.
is that the I am that? 'Cause
Yeah,
I
that
think
could be another word, another term for
the
you.
apex was I am.
We're going to get there. We're going to go there. We're going to go there. Let's just stay here.
Yeah.
Can I make
Don't know.
a comment?
Just before we get off there. So, as don't know mind, you don't know where you came from. Okay? You just appear. You just find yourself living. Yeah. And does that freak you out? as don't know mind?
Makes me feel a bit uncomfortable.
Why is that?
Probably
I
not,
want to
'cause you don't
know.
know.
Yeah, no. Well, you're at the moment you can't get out of this. Yeah?
You're
'Cause we're-
stuck in that.
Yeah. What we're trying to do is free up your ability to take these different perspectives. So when we get to the apex up here, another word that Genpo Roshi uses for this is the free functioning human being. Yeah? Who's not getting trapped in there or trapped in there. Okay? So, doesn't really freak you out that you don't know where you came from. Okay? But how do you think the self, small self, so in my case, how do I think Ralph feels about the fact that I don't know where it came from? So we don't talk about me, but can anyone say, how does that make your personality feel when you say, I don't know where I came from and it doesn't bother me in the slightest?
Can I still make my comment?
If he's talking in the first person as don't know mind, you can.
First person, Alana thinks, is that?
Yeah? That.
Alana is really confused because she loves that I don't know so much that it then makes her think that she loves it because she knows that that is the answer to it. That is always going to be the answer.
Yeah, I found the answer. I don't know anything. But that is over-identification with don't know mind. Yeah? So, but as don't know minds, are you, as don't know minds, do you want to know about what happens when you die?
Oh.
Don't know.
No. Don't know the don't knows and don't know. It's like
Don't know.
I just
wouldn't mind.
don't know.
No.
I don't know about it, and it's like all I'm focused on is right now.
It's not concerned.
Could you call that the accepting mind? No.
Yeah, don't know mind is this mind. It's the empty mind that's just present, has no impulse to know anything.
See, although you haven't talked about the untalkable bit, I thought that was that up there.
No, we're going to go
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Okay, so that's the formlessness.
So yeah,
Well, I'm trying to visualise this, and I'm looking at the shift from one to the other, and that kind of curiosity. It's almost like a childlike curiosity, and then you've got the don't know mind, and I'm imagining it as sort of like a move from this curiosity, childlike mind to wisdom, to the don't know. I'm seeing
in Zen they
it
have
as
a
wisdom.
they have a term, beginner's mind, for this. Yeah,
The don't know mind. is
don't know
beginner's
mind, beginner's mind.
Right, okay.
So, as don't know mind, what can you offer the self as don't know mind? So when I say the self, I'm talking about Ralph, Malcolm, and
With
no.
a little s.
with a little else, with a
The
little s.
personal
Yeah,
self.
this is why I haven't used terms like
Yeah.
the self.
So
You
I
know.
thought that was the self.
No.
The-
It's this is what Genpo Roshi uses, the self. I've been using personality. I'm going to go back to using personality, okay? So, how do you think, what can you offer, as don't know mind, what can you offer
Comfort.
the personality? Yeah, comfort, space, acceptance, forgiveness,
Non-duality.
clarity, light.
Non-duality.
That might come later. That might come later.
Certainty.
Yes. Yeah. And that certainty and clarity are quite related terms, I think. All right.
Connection.
Well, if you're not certain.
Yeah. Yes. Well, connection. So, another Zen term for you is most intimate. So, as don't know mind, as a spacious don't know mind, you're really intimate with every moment. You penetrate every moment. Yeah. Right. Okay, Amanda, you always have a grimace when I'm doing big mind process. How am I doing? Okay. So, this is a game in perspective taking and freeing yourself up from the limitations of being dug in to different perspectives. You can do this with any perspectives. Okay. So you were saying you've met people who've been dug into don't know mind. Yeah.
I
Or-
feel more it's like an empty mind.
Empty mind. Okay.
Don't know seems like a position of not knowing, whereas awareness is aware of the position of
Okay.
knowing or not knowing.
Another name, non-thinking mind, is another word.
Maybe
Non-thinking mind.
mind.
Yeah. You know, every term you use
It's
has
got like-
pros and cons.
Yeah.
Yeah. But don't know minds is a great thing. So when you're meditating, sometimes to just sit in don't know mind is just amazing. To just take an hour and I just go right into not knowing, and that be okay. Okay, so we're going to do a shift now to the apex. All right. So now we're looking down on these two places we've been. Don't know mind, and the mind that wants to know. So we can actually see from here the pros and cons of those positions, because from those positions, from the mind that wants to know, it's all pros from down there. You're just doing your job. You just want to know stuff, and you don't care about there being times when it's inappropriate. And then from don't know mind, you're just doing your don't know thing, but you're stuck in that perspective. You can't look at it. Yeah. So from the apex, now looking down at these two, can you see the limitations of getting over-identified with either of those perspectives? So just if you talk as the apex.
Harmony
Yeah, so you're the place of harmony.
and balance.
Yeah, because you contain both of those right now.
The middle way, I
they're
think
both
you said
present.
that earlier on, didn't
Which
you?
is what I want.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, the middle way, but it's what's also called in Taoism the way.
No way.
Yeah, yeah,
That's nicer than the middle.
yeah. It's shorter, shorthand, the most
You're not
direct
going
way.
to get the middle way by wanting it, though.
You are the middle way. I mean, that's what this is about. You are the point where these two meet.
Yeah.
Being at the top, though, you can observe, can't you? And then if you over-identify with either of them, that's where things like arrogance comes from, or cockiness, or
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And the ego's overtaking.
yeah. So why don't you? Could you describe how the knowing mind can give rise to arrogance?
Knowing mind.
Because it thinks it's
Self-loath.
Yeah, once you think you know everything, a know-it-all, nothing else to learn. I know it all.
Yeah, that's cocksure
Huh?
arrogance.
Impulse.
Isn't it?
What? Say more.
Like, impulsive.
Oh, impulsive.
Like, acting off of impulses.
because you think you know everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes when people come across that they know everything, they self-loathe themselves.
Yeah. Is that only other people, or do you do that sometimes?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I'm not that confident. No,
That's
I don't think so.
sorry.
No, you carry on.
The thing with confidence, and I can get confidence and cocksure arrogance confused. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's like I was confident on lots of crazy substances and drinks, but it was like a fake confidence. But now I'm trying to recreate natural confidence in myself, and I can confuse confidence with ego sometimes. 'Cause just trying to determine that myself, but then I'm over-identifying with these aspects.
Okay, well, if we were to go into the perspective of confidence and talk as confidence, would there be anything wrong with confidence if you're just doing your job as confidence?
No,
It's kind of a neutral thing, you know. It's got its ups and its downs. So what? Okay, so there's the arrogance associated with knowing. How about the arrogance associated with don't knowing? Could that be an arrogant position to be stuck in?
It could be, because it could be not caring what's whether
callous.
Whether someone's going to cross the road and get run over or not.
Doesn't matter.
Just going to stand there passively and watch it happen.
Yeah. Global warming.
Yeah. Just stand by and whatever.
Yeah.
What will be sort of attitude.
Yeah, but to flip that around, what's the positive version for don't know mind looking at global warming? So the negative one is like, oh, global warming, I don't care. But what about if you'd have flipped that around? There's a positive too in looking at global warming from the perspective of don't know mind.
Not being overly emotional about it, being more rational, perhaps.
Making a difference, isn't it?
But also, we don't, as don't know mind, you don't actually know what global warming is.
Yes, so you'd be ignorant.
It doesn't actually worry you.
It wouldn't affect you then.
It doesn't affect you, but so
You also
that's
not
we've
creating
seen
it.
how that can be a bad thing, creating callousness. But how could that be a way that could be a positive thing?
It could be a good thing because you're not then so it then could give you space to deal with it rather than just be like so
Burned out. Yeah. That's
You might
what,
get
that's
so
what I was looking
mad
for.
that you want to nuke everyone that's producing CO2.
That's what I'm trying to get at. That global warming, climate change is a really distressing thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes to just be able to just let that go is healthy, and actually a compassionate thing to do. Yeah. But not all the time.
The positive around it as well is kind of teaching people to treat the earth a bit nicer as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like be mindful whether you're littering or what you're eating.
Yeah, well so you're now dipping into more of the mind that wants to know what can be done about it. Okay? So we're kind of like, from up here, we've got the freedom to move around because we've been to both of these places. Okay, so in terms of this applying to daily life, which is the this is a trick question. Which is the right perspective to take in any moment in your life?
It's relative.
It's always got to be a balance.
It depends, doesn't it?
Yeah, a balance.
Yeah. But you're always both of these. So in any moment in your life, through your meditation practice, you've developed the don't know mind. And then through all the other stuff that most of us all do all the time, you're developing the mind that wants to know. And in any moment, you've got both of those both of those things are happening at the same time.
No wonder I'm tired.
Yeah. I love the big mind process, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Some people it really resonates with them, some people it doesn't. But I'm just chucking out there as a practice. So if you, in any moment, if you can actually feel both of these perspectives happening at the same time.
It's very abstract. but I'm feeling in. I'm feeling in, actually. I'm not understanding this with my mind, but I'm feeling into what you're saying, because definitely from having spent a year with Moody, I spend much more time in this space, to the point that sometimes I can't even find this mind.
Yeah.
It comes and goes, but it seems to come and go of its own accord.
Yeah.
So in terms of like feeling concern about this or that, it doesn't feel like it's a conscious choice to be involved with that side of the mind. It's there or it's not. So like the mind that wants to know, I see it, sometimes it arises and it gets busy thinking about past or future or worrying about this or that, but sometimes it's not even there. To be honest.
Yeah, okay,
it's
but
not always there.
yeah. Well, you're moving around on this, and sometimes you go right over here, and that one seems to have disappeared.
Right,
yeah?
exactly, yeah.
But what I'm trying to show you with this is that there's nothing wrong about wanting to know, and there's nothing wrong about not knowing, and that if you can really go into those perspectives completely. So when you sit down in meditation, sometimes I sit down and I say, I just say, don't know mind. Boof. And I'm in that perspective for an hour or whatever. And then I come out of it.
Can you give an example of the knowing mind whilst meditating? Where you go,
Okay, so you're meditating. You're kind of you're going right into this don't know mind, and then all of a sudden, I wonder what I'm going to have for supper. Comes up, and then in part of you is like, why am I thinking about that? I should be meditating. Yeah, okay. But the reason why this is important, what we've just been doing here, is that the mind that wants to know, there's nothing wrong with wanting to know. Yeah, it's just doing its job. And this is the reason why this is important for meditation is when a thought comes up or an impulse to want to know something, don't try and beat it. Naughty boy. This is all about, this big mind process, freeing you up with these perspectives. They have a job. They do. These are like sub-personalities inside yourself. They just do what they want to do. Yeah. Or say, another example, you might have. I don't know, I won't go into it, but yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes. It's not to have aversion towards the mind.
That's it. You say, okay, that's fine. That's just a perspective. It's coming up. It's doing its job. I'm just going to let it, and I'm going to, and not suddenly getting engaged and.
Because then you're putting more energy into it.
Absolutely, and it's.
And you're berating yourself for actually going there rather than just letting it move on.
Yeah.
So, we could have gone into the thinking mind. Yeah? So, thoughts just want to think about everything. Sometimes I've been meditating and might have think just the most horrible thoughts about my children dying in a car crash or something, and I see it and it's already vivid and I'm like, what the hell? But because I've practiced this perspective taking practice, this big mind process thing, that when that happens now in meditation, I'm just like, okay, that's just thinking mind is just thinking about that, because the thinking mind wants to think about everything. Yeah, and from this perspective, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just going to let that. I'm not threatened by that thought.
The mind can take on just a life of its own. You know that when you're in dreams.
Yeah.
Basically, it's your mind just in free fall, just getting on with whatever.
Yeah, it loves to busy itself with stuff, and the sooner you can just let go of that and let it do its thing, you're so much better for your meditation practice, and also in any moment
so much better
in
for
your life.
your life.
Yeah.
Because it's really helpful to hear that. It's freeing you, isn't it?
This is the point.
About my thoughts,
the apex is the place of freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're free to be that, free to be that. Yeah, you're not. trying to cram yourself into one or the other. Yeah? So this sounds abstract, but it's not. It's really simple. I think when people find this difficult, they're trying to make it more complicated than it is. It's really dead simple. And probably much easier to do this with children than with adults, because they're overcomplicating it. So there's one more practice I want to share with you for meditating throughout the day. And we've only got 5 minutes left, so I'm not going to spend more than 5 minutes on it. I've shared this with a few people before, if you've come before. If you haven't, this might be your first time. This is one I absolutely love. And it's called headlessness. Has anyone heard of Douglas Harding and headlessness? No? Okay. So we're going to do a little experiment. All right? So, can everybody point at something out in the room? Just point to something over that way. Okay? So you can see that you are pointing at something out there. Yeah, I'm pointing at a chair. My finger's pointing at a chair and it's over there. Now, point at the floor just in front of your body. So you're pointing at a thing that's there, the floor. And now if you point at your foot, you're pointing at something there. There's your foot out there and you're pointing at it. Now if you point at your chest, you're pointing again at something. Now point directly at your face. Are you pointing at something? Can you see what you're pointing at?
No.
So for me, I'm just pointing at nothingness. There's just a space, an opening. And I'm not talking about your nose that's kind of like pink blob that's kind of transparent and moves around. Behind there. Okay, now if you take your finger away and just sort of like look softly in front of yourself. Now feel that where your head was, all of this is actually inside your head. So even though I can see all of your heads, you can see my head, you can't see your head. It's not there. And this is a way of actually experiencing that. Yeah? So I can look in a mirror and I'll see my head. But what I'm seeing is my head there in the mirror. I'm not seeing my head at 0 centimetres from where I feel I am. And this is kind of seems like another weird thing. But once you lose your head and all of this is inside, it's a really great experience of containing everything inside yourself. And again, this one really works for some people, really doesn't for others, but I love it. And how that applies to meditation is that where your head is supposed to be is actually this awake, transparent nothingness. It's not a nothingness though, it's awake and vibrant and alive. and just contains all of this. It's like the world is a snow globe on top of your shoulders. But it can get you into this state of mind of just total openness. So it's like you don't have two eyes anymore, you've got one big single eye.
In the first meditation I did, I felt like I started to have this like black dot that would have like a lighter dot coming through it, and then a black dot, and then it started to have like a blue surrounding, and then it was like I wasn't so much my body anymore, but this like fine gas ball or thing that was just like around my head, but it wasn't contained. Like it didn't have a edge to it or something. It didn't happen again on the other meditations.
Yeah, that is similar to what we're doing at the moment, this headless thing.
And it was like above my head.
Right. This is always the session that's a difficult one for me because it just is. You know, it's because it's difficult to apply your meditation practice to real life. You know, real life, whatever, daily life. And also, it's been a long day, and I'm always really exhausted by this time. My mind is going a bit woolly.
Yeah, with something like the headlessness, it's just a don't know my moment.
Yeah.
Because if you're thinking about it, right, what you're seeing is history, because what you're seeing right now has already been processed in your brain and it's being like projected somewhere for some reason, and we're seeing it, and I don't even know why.
Yeah, I mean, all of this...
And you kind of just go in circles, and only asking yourself questions is only going to cause you grief. Because you're not going to know just by thinking about it.
Well, what you find with when you try to know everything is... So say you say, what's this cup made of? It's made of molecules. What are molecules made of? They're made of atoms. What are atoms made of? Made of subatomic particles. What are subatomic particles made of? Well, they're made of smaller subatomic particles. What are those particles made of? Don't know. You know, eventually you keep penetrating with trying to know things, and then you hit a point where you don't know anymore, and nobody knows. And then you'll find out what subatomic particles are made of, and that'll be something else people know. But then, what are they made of? And you there's a limit to knowing. But it's a great and interesting thing to do, to want to know things.